Welcome to Time on Track, a podcast where we navigate the high-speed racing and constantly changing storylines of Formula One. I'm Revere, and I'm joined as always by Ricardo. Ricardo, how are you?
Still tired, still beat, but F1 must F1, so gotta do the podcast. How about you, my friend?
I'm hanging in there. You know, it's been a very long time since we last spoke. Formula One was in Singapore, so there's a lot to
hmm
catch up on. But I think before that, we should.
Daniel Ricciardo was driving.
Daniel Ricardo was driving. Um, yeah, that was years ago now. Before we do that, you want to
Mhm.
jump into a wrist check?
Sure.
What's on your wrist
Um,
today?
um,
Oh,
this is the Beaufort Fiordland GMT. Continuing the streak. Well, not even so much the streak. I like to buy things at Windup Watch Fair, so this isn't something new. This is a GMT from a brand called Beaufort, out of, I believe, New Zealand. They were at the fair, very reasonably priced, offering 9075 true GMT movement, loom all over the place, which I love for my GMTs. Stainless steel bezel, another thing I'm very fond of. So this just really clicked it on all points for me. And as part of being at the fair, the special was not only did you get the watch, but you got every other possible strap that he had with the watch. So
oh, nice.
all the bracelets, all the straps. But I kind of like it on this flat link. It just looks really good. There's a
Yeah, it's a
picture of
nice
it on my
bracelet.
Instagram with my other pickup, which was a ProTech knife, a Malibu. So yeah.
Oh, the ProTech knife. Was this the blue wind-up exclusive?
So they kind of surprised us. We all thought it was going to be the blue wind up exclusive, and then they they showed up with three exclusives.
Oh, really?
So they showed up with the blue. They showed up with the blue with a bit of mother of pearl,
hmm
and then which I was already going for the blue, and then they showed up with this bad boy here, this Malibu.
Oh my gosh, that action
And,
was so good.
oh yeah,
I hope people could hear that.
yeah, and the push button on this is just it's sweet.
Dude,
This
that's a good looking
this
knife.
yeah, this may be some of the best action I've had on a knife. And like it's so good I almost don't want to cut with it. But but like the funny thing is like I've been using this like crazy over the past few days. So it's already developed some pocket patina,
Okay.
and like it's just a nice, just beautiful action, and then the drop down is just
Oh,
it's
that's really
just
easy.
sweet.
That's
So
really
yeah,
nice.
those were my pickups for the fair. Any new pickups for you, my friend, or are you just rocking you rocking something that you always rock?
Rocking something that I always rock. I gotta say though, that knife, that might be a pickup. I was actually messaging with Garrett on Instagram, Garrett from the Worn and Wound team, about he had posted a couple photos of that, and I was like, ooh, I might need to get into one of those. He's like, I think they're going to be at a knife fair in SoCal in like the next couple weeks, and I was like, the last thing I need to do is walk into a knife fair and reignite any kind of interest in
Passion.
pocket knives. Like, I have enough just like floating around in like my car and camping gear. Like, I don't need another knife, and that would be a
you can
slippery slope for me.
you can never have enough knives. It's actually, and I never used to be a knife person, and like I've fallen down the rabbit hole, but I don't go like crazy and buying knife after knife after knife. I think I'm like a once every couple months kind of guy, and I've been waiting to see ProTech in person. And yeah, and it's numbered. It's number 14 of 15 that they made for the fair.
Wow, that's
14
cool.
is my birthday, so I just decided on that number. And another one of the beautiful things about running a fair, you get first dibs.
That's true. You get to see it first. Oh
Yep.
man. Yeah, I honestly ProTech was not on my radar before all the wind up coverage, so that was really cool to see something into. Uh, I'm wearing on my wrist my trusty Tudor Ranger, um, which
Mhm.
I swear I probably put on 10 days ago and I haven't taken it off. And it's one of those watches that I could go a month or two without wearing it and I don't really think about it, but sometimes I don't know if it's the fall weather even though it's still like 75, 80 degrees here in LA. Um it just once I put it on my wrist, that dial is so simple, but there's a lot of little things to it. Um Red secondhand. I haven't taken it off. And it's really comfortable. I know a lot of people complain about this Ranger having a 42 millimeter size, but that's for people that to complain about on the internet. On the wrist, it feels really good.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely saw a couple of those this past weekend. So
nice.
you are not alone, my friend. A
The
lot
the
of
old
Tudor.
school Ranger
I
or
know.
the first re-release?
I saw a Ranger. I saw a old school Snowflake
Hmm.
in blue, which was
Okay.
beautiful. Um, yeah, Tudor was definitely strong in the house. Let's just say that. Cartier was strong as well. I have to say.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of tanks. I saw a Roadster, and then I saw a VC Drive
Oh wow.
in all gold. I was just like, she 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 came to the show and like you could tell not so much that she and her company were weary of the show, but
Hmm.
like I could tell they didn't know what to expect. And then see she immediately felt that she was surrounded by like-minded people and she was just happy. Because the
Nice.
second I said, "Ooh, that's nice. Let me see that." Like and it just goes to show you how different an environment can make things be. If that was on the street, she may have ran away from me. But
Yeah.
within the
Anytime you
within the
walk up to a woman and say, "Ooh, that's nice,"
that's that
that's not a good thing.
that's not a good thing.
It
But
depends on the context.
definitely the context. But within the confines of like one of the largest watch fairs in the world, like it's like a compliment.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
she immediately like she just lightened up. She brightened up when like she realized that I knew what she was wearing and just how cool it was to see it in person. But no, it was overall just great, man. Just great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like the Cartier showed out in force. That's a very New York thing. I feel like the Cartiers trend more out that way than maybe we see in SoCal.
Mm.
So yeah, so it's been a long time. Singapore Grand Prix was essentially a month ago, a month before Austin. Um, I think a lot has happened, both on track, off track. We've had some controversies for Formula One. There's people with moving floorboards. There's forced retirements. But what have you been up to? I think windup is probably the biggest thing, right?
Yeah. Like it's hard to describe to people just how all consuming like wind up is. Like it for the staff, especially wind up New York City. Like
Yeah, it
we
seems like
love
New
San
York is on another
yeah.
level.
Like we love San Francisco, we love Chicago, but New York is like our hometown. It's the hometown fair. It is the biggest of the three. And this year like was basically double the size of last year fair. More than double the size of last year fair. Both in space, brands, just a lot was going on. And you're talking about we're a team of like 15 to 20 people.
Yeah,
And like a lot of that legwork just divided amongst all of us and just getting there on like Thursday before the fair and then just going ham.
yeah.
Like we're
I can't
talking
imagine
about
even just the setup alone. I can't
yeah,
imagine what that's
10 to
like.
12 hours straight working with brands, making sure everybody's happy, making sure you're all set for the next day because like the second the next day comes, it's literally all hands on deck. It's crazy. And the other aspect to this year was of course we move in a larger space, twice as large. I mean, it's a very small voice, but like until you're there, like there's that voice in your head that's just like okay, larger space, we have the brands, will
Hmm.
the people come? Like, will the people come? Because like past 2 years, you hear people like, "Oh yeah, you need more space. You need more space." And in your mind, you're just like, okay, you say that, but
Yeah.
will you still come?
Right.
And to see that first day, a line around the block, like I'm talking about 200 people deep, 300 people deep that
That's
first
incredible.
day.
Yeah.
And then consistent traffic like throughout the whole weekend. Like we had like a little inside joke, like our Fridays became our Saturdays. Our Saturday was just on a whole nother level. And then our Sunday, which is usually our slowest day, became like our Friday. So
Really? Wow.
it was just massive. And one thing I think people also don't understand is like you it's a different, you have to judge like an event like this differently. You know, people would look at, okay, you- how many like thousands and thousands and thousands of people like came through the door, and we had the largest amount of people come through our show. But the other aspect of that is these people are coming and they are not leaving.
Oh yeah, they're hanging out all day, right?
They're hanging out there all day. So it's not like there's a constant switch over and like turnstiles. So no, it's literally, I know multiple people who walked in there at 12 o'clock and didn't leave there until 6
That's
and
crazy.
still felt like they hadn't gotten the full experience and had to come in the next day. So
Oh, that's amazing.
it's really it's an amazing event. Like it, it's also a reminder of just like I know it sounds crazy. Like it doesn't sound crazy to say this, but like I'm working here. It's another reminder of like why I love working here so much. Like like that event, no matter how tired I get, no matter how many things we're doing, it's a beautiful event to be a part of. It's a beautiful event to host. It's just an amazing event, and it reminds you, like even though this is a niche, like love, like the love is strong
Yeah.
in the community, and people are out there looking for new things. They want to discover new watches, discover new brands. They want to see things they never had an opportunity to see. It is literally it is, I mean, this past week is basically watch week in New York,
Hmm.
and it this event has kind of become like one of the crown jewels of the week.
That's pretty
And I
cool.
love being a part of it. I just absolutely love being a part of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It looked really cool. I've been to San Francisco, but the New York one does look like it's on another level, and that's crazy to say because I was blown away going to San Francisco this year. I couldn't believe how big it was. So for New York to be on another level, it's wild. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool though because I think it's one. It speaks to watches as a hobby and as an interest that it's big enough that it can support something like that. And two, it's I think you guys do a really good job of just making it a place where people can gather and hang out with like-minded people. And it's like, yeah, you can look at the watches in the booths and feel a bunch of really cool watches in person and try them on. And it's really cool to talk to a lot of the brand founders. But it's also really cool to just like hang out. Like even in San Francisco for me, just hanging out with people and seeing like a Snoopy Omega Snoopy limited edition or like someone with a Studio Underdog pizza watch and just like taking it off and talking to them. I mean, I see how people spend the entire afternoon there and then come back the next day.
Yeah.
It's super
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's that, one of the main reasons we have a lounge so people can do that. We have like a full coffee station brought to us by Brew. Like it was really a super interactive event. And another aspect of the show, which I think will only grow and just shows like just how like the love and the interest people have, is in San Francisco it was called, EDC Alley, and now it's become like an expo.
Yeah.
And that's where we had ProTech. I mean,
Hmm.
we had Nomadic there with their bags. People loved seeing them. We had an interesting brand that we also carry in the shop called Charlie Whiskey Tango, CW&T. They make these cool pens um, out of titanium, these paperclip pens, and these cool concepts. And and of course we had some names that everybody knows, like Christopher Ward, super popular booth. Everyone
Yeah.
wants to see the Bel Canto.
Hmm.
Everyone wants to see the 12. And Formex, everybody wants to see the reef. We had Shinola in there. It's if you have any interest in watches and you're starting to get an interest in watches, like it is an amazing event to learn so much more about what it is like you're getting into. And yeah, no, the event was amazing. Like we all are happy. A lot of the brands are happy. Like it was a very cool week. Like yeah.
Yeah.
But we're
And
still recovering.
weeks in preparation for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Like
and we're
from the moment we shut it down for Singapore, I think we talked about recording a podcast, but no, you guys were in full wind up mode.
That's why I didn't mind the break. It actually timed itself perfectly.
It worked out really well for you guys.
yeah, but still, like it was just great. And then I also met this interesting brand, called Brooklands, which really has this amazing racing heritage story, with the Brooklands racetrack out in
England,
in London, out in Britain. So there's just oh man, I had like a few minutes to actually see things around other than like doing what I normally do. But yeah, no, it was great. I wish you were here, man. Anyone out there who's listening who didn't get a chance to visit, like definitely try to make it out to the closest one to you when we come around, whether it's San Francisco or Chicago. If you're like within a couple 100 miles of New York, make it a weekend. There's a lot of stuff going on. It'll be worth it. If you are into watches, it will definitely be worth it. But yeah, no, just a great event.
That's amazing. Yeah.
What did you get into?
I wasn't setting up for the biggest watch fair in the world. So I was hanging out. I had some really cool car stuff happen over the last couple of weeks. Maybe about 2 weeks ago, I went on a rally that's hosted by this podcast, Driving While Awesome. These guys out of Santa Cruz, California. So we were up in deep North California doing 3 days of just some of the most beautiful driving roads I've ever been on in my life. There's these national forests out here, Shasta, Trinity, and like just kind of redwood forests, and we're just in these train of cars, and it was incredible.
Were you in the Rover?
No, I wish. No, I was in the Mini Cooper. I guess I don't wish I was in the Rover. The Rover would have been so slow. No, the Mini's fun. The Mini on a rally like that, especially, we had the second day of it was damp out and damp cars, and a lot of people had some pretty aggressive tires on their cars. So damp weather and fast tires don't always work, as we see in Formula One. But the Mini, being front wheel drive and a little bit underpowered, did pretty well out there. It's fun trying to chase down like M3s. My brother was in a brand new M2. There was a Lotus Emira. But then everything else, there's, perfectly preserved old school first gen MR2s, other Mini Coopers, GTIs, R32 GTIs, E36 M3s, a bunch of really cool 80s, 90s, 2000s cars. So fun mix. But yeah, like I still have burned into my head this image of chasing down a 997, 911, and then my friend in a Vantage in front of him, and then my brother in an M2, and then E92 M3, which is like a 2013 BMW M3, through a redwood forest. And the grip in the asphalt had just dried out, so everything was perfect. There was no traffic, and obviously going the speed limit. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, obviously speed limit. Yeah.
So
we follow those laws. We follow those laws.
Yeah, exactly. I got a little bit of driving in, so I didn't miss Formula One that much. But yeah, shout out to those guys for throwing a really awesome rally. They know what they're doing.
Cool.
But yeah, I was going to ask you if you got any watches, but I think we already got into that. Sounds like you picked up some cool stuff at Windup.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm content.
Another watch I'm going to have to see in person sometime.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we talk about Formula One?
Yes.
The sport that keeps on giving.
Yes. Um, wow. Yeah. I feel like so we lost Danny.
We lost Danny Ricardo. I think
We lost.
we ended our last podcast talking about how that might have been his last race, but nothing was announced. And I think
Yeah.
what, like 10 minutes after
Yes.
we
Yes.
we hit stop on the recording, it was
It was
announced.
announced. It was announced. That was an interesting weekend. I wish they had did it at Coda. Honestly, like it
After
would have
three
been nice.
weeks. I don't.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean give him the send off? Okay.
at Coda, it would have been
Yeah.
nice. It would have
Yeah.
been nice, but
I mean,
like,
his face was all over Austin, Texas.
yeah. Even though he wasn't, they had a letter writing station for him. They had a letter writing station, like
He's not dead.
send your messages to Danny Rick. Like
Oh my
that's how
god.
much he's beloved. But yeah, so we lost Danny. Liam Lawson, of course. Well, not of course. Liam Lawson takes his place at RB.
Yeah.
And we're jumping into this last part of the season. We have a title race that's going on, which in some ways I'm like I have here's nail, here's
Hmm.
coffin, here's hammer. I just struck once.
Hmm.
so, so so another race, I may just like smash it down and
Yeah.
be like, okay, that conversation is done. But I'm not gonna get too ahead of myself. Let's just jump into the first parts of the weekend. There was a lot going on this weekend.
A lot
Had
going
a
on. There
sprint
was,
race.
yeah, one practice, then sprint quality, then sprint, then
Yeah,
qualifying, then
fine.
race. Yeah, it was a lot
Yeah.
going on.
So sprint race. I mean, the Red Bull looking good,
Yeah.
looking good again. And not only the Red Bull looking good again, the Ferraris out here like, listen, we still have a chance for this constructor. Like, we're not done.
Yeah. So that
So
was right. So Max ended up winning the sprint. Um, Off the sprint pole as well, right? So
mhm,
he was
start to
lap
finish.
start to finish just in first place, doing well. Which good job for Max Verstappen. It's been a while since he's been on top of the podium. But to me, the entire sprint race, just like Carlos Sainz, what are you doing, man? He was feeling frisky that day, I gotta
Bruh.
say.
But he's like, listen, I got 6 races left in
Yeah,
this Ferrari red.
right.
I'm going out. I'm going out like like a G.
He was
And
hunting.
yeah,
He
yeah,
was hunting his own teammate at one point. Like he was
yeah.
going after Leclerc.
Dude,
Um,
like there's this why like worst case scenario. I'm like I of all the drivers, I feel like those two, maybe because they've had so much experience doing it, are really good at racing each other hard.
yeah,
Like it's rare that like you're like, oh my gosh, they're about to crash into each other. Like it's rare that they crash into each other. Like they're just really
that's a good
good.
point. Yeah.
They know a certain limitation. Like okay, that
Hmm.
that's as far as we're going to go. But that limitation is still much further out than most other teams. So
Yeah.
it always makes for interesting racing. And you have Carlos who's spicy, Leclerc who seems to be finding a little bit of a voice now, which I like. I feel like he knows that okay, Lewis is coming in. I need to start
Hmm.
like standing up for myself.
Yeah.
Like some of the radio messages this weekend were a lot like, "Hey, we doing this."
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna tell me we're doing this. So I like to see that. It was good. It was spicy. I enjoyed it. I know one
Overall,
person
yeah.
who didn't enjoy it.
Yes.
Lando Norris.
Lando Norris. Yes, right. Every point counts for Lando Norris. And I think in the sprint race, he was starting to feel that.
Hmm.
And when you have Carlos Sainz breathing down your neck on the last lap, Lando made a mistake uh, and gave up that position. And man, when every point counts, and I know sprint races are just like one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Even losing that point is a pretty
Yeah,
big deal.
yeah.
So Lando lost that form on the last lap. Carlos took advantage, got second, and Lando finished third. So
Mm.
not a great start to the weekend for McLaren.
Not at all. You know what? It's funny. Like what this all reminds me of. If if anyone out there, if you've ever watched like a sports movie and like a player clearly
Oh,
has an injury
like
that
Airbud. Sorry, what
Not
movie
a
are you talking
dog,
about?
not a dog, a human.
Not a dog. We're not talking about a dog. Sorry. Sorry, I'm going off tangent.
So think of any movie where a human has like an
Space
injury
Jam.
that.
Sorry. Keep going.
You're
I'm
killing
over
me,
it.
Petey.
I'm
You're
done.
killing
I'm
me,
done.
Petey.
Sorry.
Think of okay. I'm just gonna be more specific. Think of not Friday Night Lights. Any given Sunday.
Okay. Any given Sunday.
Yeah. Think
Al
of a
Pacino.
movie where a player clearly has an injury and he has no business going back out there, but they just pump him full of something or do something to get him to finish. That's what Red Bull looks like right now. It's like, listen, like I don't need it to be pretty. That car might possibly fall apart on us, like at some point. But we're gonna push this as hard as we can for these last 6 races to lock this in.
Right.
And after that sprint win, that's the vibe I got. Like it that's why I'm kind of like, Nell is this much into the coffin. I'm ready to like knock it down. Because if that's where they are and then Lando is looking like that, yeah, this drivers championship race might be kaput, like by the next race.
It might be.
Yeah.
Should we get into the race then?
Oh yeah, let's jump. Let's jump right into it.
I think there's probably a lot to talk about with Red Bull versus McLaren, but I think we should probably start with Ferrari because they did absolutely dominate this race. They ended up with a 1-2 finish, or no, was it? They ended up with 1-2.
1-2. Yeah, Verstappen.
Okay, that's how insane this race was. That Ferrari had a 1-2 finish, but nobody was looking at Ferrari by the end of this race. But
nobody was looking. The announcers weren't looking at Ferrari by the end of this race. The last 10 laps of this race was nothing but Max Verstappen, like Lando Norris chasing Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
But let's go to the beginning. They're climbing up Big Red.
Mm-hmm.
You have Max and Lando.
They literally
Paul,
right,
like pushing each other to the outside of the track. And in my mind, I'm just like, I guess you guys feel like the need to fight on the first lap. But guess what? There are 2 cars behind you that have been doing pretty good this weekend that you may want to think about also. And you blinked, and after the first corner, like they're offline, and Leclerc is perfectly online and says thank you very much and takes the lead.
Yeah.
And it was great to see like Ferrari just take that opportunity. And I felt like Ferrari talked about that ahead of time. I felt like,
you know what's funny is I was watching that race, and obviously people talk about Austin being on the inside line heading into turn 1. So being second place is actually a better place than being in first because you want that inside turn. And if you saw the sprint, Lando took that inside line when Max and I'm forgetting who was in second were battling. Lando was in like fourth, and he took that exact same line that Leclerc took to jump from fourth to first.
Yeah.
And so you would think, and so that goes to your point. Ferrari probably talked about it because they saw Lando do it, and then Lando clearly was had such tunnel vision with Max Verstappen that both of them ignored the fact that the inside line heading up into that uphill left-hander favors the inside position, and that they were fighting each other. And you're right, they went outside and just completely opened the door on the inside for Ferrari.
Yeah. You know who else realized that inside line is amazing? Mr. Lewis Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
Mike, did you see his move?
He jumped like what, 6 positions or
6 positions? like further back, his onboard is amazing because he actually, I think, starts on the outside.
Oh, and he jumps inside?
And he starts creeping left. And I don't know who it was that left an opening for him on the inside, but it wasn't that much of an opening because he still crossed the pit lane exit line.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then creeped in and made the turn at the same time pushing Alex Albon out, who then hit someone else. So it was absolute chaos. But if ever there's an image that truly represents like the beauty of F1, it's that image of them coming up Big Red
Mm-hmm.
and the drone panning past the big American flag into like that first corner. Like that image is so etched into my mind. Like if someone just showed me like just a small portion of it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Coda.
Yeah.
Like I know that's Coda.
Right.
But no,
It
it was
is,
great.
and that's where Coda is really cool. It's, it's probably what the newest actual track, not like a
Yeah.
street circuit or a street
Yep.
hybrid circuit. It's the newest track that's Formula One specific.
Yeah.
So you get opportunities where these big ass Formula One cars of the modern era can be side by side, and you can have like three wide going into
Yep.
turns, which
Yeah.
is really cool and not something you ever
It's-
really see on other
and,
tracks.
and and then you get a little bit of that bunch up because like I didn't realize it, but that first hill is like 130, 40 feet
Yeah,
elevation,
it's a crazy
like
climb.
within the first couple hundreds of 100 meters. Like it's crazy, but it makes for a really, really beautiful like opening like foray, and it provides amazing opportunities to pick up a couple spots.
Yeah.
But sadly, Lewis made up spots only to have his car fail on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sticking to it. I don't care what anybody else says. That was not Lewis Hamilton's fault. Watch the onboard. Watch. I don't know who was driving behind them. Also, the back of that car basically said "no mas."
Yeah, it came out from under him for sure.
Yeah,
And
and
same
and he
thing that
wasn't even
happened
driving
to
that fast to
yeah, it was
to
the same thing
to
that happened to
Russell.
Russell, right? In
Yeah,
qualifying.
he
Yeah.
wasn't even driving that fast. It was the opening lap, so he's not super pushing the car. He's trying to find his
It was
pace. He,
lap 3. Yeah, he was just
lap
settling
three
into yeah.
into his pace. He'd already
Mhm.
gone up a couple positions, so he's on hard tires, so he can go long. And it's just like you watch the onboards, and it's just like turning, whoop,
Yeah, that back end
and
came out.
I felt for him. I really felt for him. Like I just hope this isn't a representation of what the next 5 races are going to be with that car.
I
I hope.
mean, it could have been that the car came out from under him. It could have been that, you're supposed to have your eye on the kind of the next turn after your exit of that turn, but his eyes could have been on Ferrari in first and second at that point, and just so distracted. In the next 5 races, we could see Lewis Hamilton just side eyeing Ferrari this whole time, waiting for him to go there. I
Yep.
don't know. But yeah, I think overall just a bad weekend for Mercedes. You had, I think they were complaining from the first practice about the stability of the car.
Yeah.
You had Russell crashing in Q3, and I think it kind of told you a little bit about where Hamilton's mindset was going into the actual race day when he's like, give him my upgrades, give him my place, I'll start in the
Take
pits. Like, I don't
take that
care.
ish.
I don't
Take
care.
that ish. I don't want it. Like take it. Take it.
But yeah, so Mercedes didn't have a great weekend. Leclerc had a good weekend. We were joking about before this. He loves races that start with an M: Monza, Monaco, America.
America. America. America.
America.
Not America.
Yeah.
America.
So Leclerc had a great race. Ferrari had a great race. They're inserting themselves back into that constructors championship. I think Mercedes is falling out of that top 4 consideration now.
Yeah.
But it
Now,
brings us.
now,
Sorry.
if only Ferrari could start their seasons the way they end them. That like with a little bit a little bit more.
It's funny because I feel like last year they had the opposite. They started so strong and they just faded away. Like they didn't really have good upgrades going into the end of the year. Whereas this year they started strong, they faded,
Yeah.
but they've come back, which
I
I don't
guess I'm
know.
just asking for consistency then.
That's
If I get
that's a good
start,
point. They're not.
I'm
They
just
haven't been consistent, and
yeah.
that's supposed to change under Fred Vasseur. And who knows? Maybe that is changing. And
Yeah.
if you're Lewis
Hopefully just in
Hamilton,
time for Lewis Hamilton to make it there.
you got to be happy about how the Ferraris look. If you're Carlos Sainz, you're probably not as happy. But hey,
Hmm.
Colapinto's finishing in the points, so maybe that's you next year, Carlos.
Yeah.
But that brings us to lap 46 through 52, which I think were, if you haven't watched this race, watch the first 3 laps until Lewis crashes out, and then fast forward to lap like 45 and
Yeah.
pick it up
Yeah.
again.
And maybe stop every once in a while to see Liam Lawson and Fernando Alonso battling it out. Clearly
That
not liking each other.
I almost spit up my drink when they played the onboard for Alonso. He's like, that AlphaTauri is an idiot. I was like, what AlphaTauri?
AlphaTauri.
What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, definitely. Like,
apparently there was a threat after that. Because that happened during the sprint race, and apparently Alonso went up to Lawson. I've heard this secondhand.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to ruin your qualifying for you.
Yeah.
And then he ruined Lawson's qualifying.
Yep.
So,
and then Lawson just had a great like initial race. Like he someone said like someone said these new kids just it's the ignorance of youth.
Oh yeah.
Like
they don't know what they don't know.
They don't know what they don't know. And they're driving like it, and like, oh, this guy's Alonso. He's supposed to be good. I don't know. I'm just driving. Driving.
He's like, I don't know who that person is. I'm too young.
That's it. I wasn't born when he started.
Literally, he might not have been.
But yeah. Oh, like, you know what? Fast forward, if you see green and blue, pause it here and there, and pick it up and see the spiciness on track. But for the most part, what was the main feature, and what I felt even the coverage realized was the main feature, was that battle for third between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris.
Yeah.
Set some background. Lando had some fresher tires. If I believe he went a little bit longer than Verstappen.
Yes. This is the new McLaren strategy, is we're going to overcut everyone on the initial stint and then have better tires to finish the race.
Yeah. Knowing how our cars are on tires and how well, forgive me, how we'll be towards the end of the race.
Wind-up hangover.
Yes. The wind-up hangover is strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, knowing that we're going to have. And it was a back and forth battle. Time was cutting down. 1.5, 1.2, got it under 9. But it seemed like Lando just couldn't quite get there and find a space to make a move. It's interesting because there's a lot that's in play there. One is Max Verstappen and his defensive driving.
Yeah.
Some call it defensive, some call it uber aggressive.
I call it both.
I call it both, but I lean towards one side. My issue, I think, and some of the announcers. Actually, you know what? Before I get into that, let's go into what actually happened.
Okay.
So, I believe it is what, turn 12.
We're talking about the off-track incident here on lap 52. Yeah. So they've been Before we even get to lap 52, they've been battling for about 6 laps at this point, where Norris is in DRS, Max is in third, and Norris is catching up to him. And Norris keeps trying to pass on the inside or the outside, and Max keeps blocking the inside over and over and over again. And I think Norris is honestly, he's not making any interesting moves. He's kind of doing the Norris thing, and Max is doing the Max thing, which is, I have extremely sharp elbows and they are fully out right now. Yes. The entire time. So Norris trying to force Max off his line, not doing a very good job of it. Max kind of knowing what Norris is trying to do and really defending, in my mind, defending well. Some people might say aggressively driving. And that sets up this lap 12 I mean, lap
Highly aggressive.
52. Yeah. Lap 52 situation where
Uber aggressive.
uber aggressive. And you know what? That's what happens when you're a multi-time driver champion. And
But not illegal.
not there you go. Exactly, not illegal. So they're on the
Not
back
illegal.
straight heading into turn 12. Do you want to give me your take?
Okay, here's my take. Max does what Max does.
Mm-hmm.
Go hard into the turn, braking late, knowing that he's going to miss the apex, but seeing that the driver is on the outside, they're going to miss the apex too, because he does it in a way where he still lines you up so that you're parallel to him, and there's no way of you pulling the switch back. So if you try to pull the switch back, you're just going to run into his rear tires. You both crash. It's over. So he's done this so much, he's kind of got it to a T. And honestly, he's playing by the rules as they currently stand. So my issue isn't so much with Max. My issue is with the rules, because I feel the rules allow someone to do this over and over again and be able to get away with it. And no one really say, and like, a lot of people say something about it, but it's by the rules. So this is his thing. I'm going to brake late.
Yep.
Still going to be parallel with you though, so you can't pull the switch back on me. We're both going to miss the apex. You're going to be outside. I may be a little bit outside, but you're definitely going to be outside. I'm going to make my turn. And if you pass me, guess what? You pass me off track, so you're going to be back. If you don't pass me, we're both off track. By the time we both get back on, I'll still be in the lead. I win, regardless, no matter what. No matter what you do, I'm going to win this.
Yeah.
So,
Max was in a good position going into that turn.
Max,
Lando, I think, was a little bit ahead going.
He was a
on that back straight.
Lando was ahead until
the apex, basically.
No. Lando was ahead, and the second Lando decides, okay, I'm going to brake to make this turn, but Max decides, I'm not going to brake yet. I'm going to brake late. He will jump ahead every time. That's the other aspect to this rule. By late braking, Max will always be ahead when they're counting, when they're doing the look to see if you're ahead. Because if you look earlier, you look at the 100 meters before that, Lando was ahead. He had at least a third of a car length ahead. The issue there is Lando then decides, I'm going to brake now. Max decides, I'm not going to brake yet. So you immediately go from this to this.
Yeah.
And then now Max is considered ahead because he's decided to brake late, and Lando is now still trying to make his turn. And Lando can't make his turn because guess what? Guess who's now standing in the way of Lando making his turn? Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen. Yeah.
So now Lando has to go out wide. So it's one of those things, per the rules and how they're written, Max is doing nothing wrong. Max is using the rules to help him and be able to make that turn and hold that position. Here's where things got interesting. And here's where I also blame McLaren for this. I don't care what you think. Give it up. Try again.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
time to try again.
Okay,
there's time to try. Give it up. Try again. What the hell? And then to have the audacity to sound so sure of yourself.
Yes.
On the radio.
That to me was the craziest part. They're like, oh, you were definitely ahead, man. Don't worry about it. Like,
no,
you got
how
this.
Many times?
No one else watching that race was like, oh yeah, that was clearly in your court.
Every single, if there's even a question mark, you give it up again.
Yeah.
And you know the story is then, the complete story is Max pushed him out wide. The story is not Max pushed him out wide, but then Lando held the position instead of giving it back. So there was plenty of time for Lando, and
there was 4 laps left.
And I think,
and you're in a faster car with better tires.
Yeah, and I think that sense of what's the what's the word I'm looking for? That sense of impatience from Lando really shot him in his foot.
Mm-hmm.
I would if my team told me, yo, 100%, man, you had that. I'm like, nah, I'm giving it up.
So
like we'll try again. I see what he's gonna try to move. I'll think of something interesting to get him the next time. I'll break a little bit earlier than he expects me to break, and then let him go, and then I'll do the cutback.
Okay, that impatience is why everyone's like, whose fault is it? Who pushed who off track? That impatience and what you just said about brake strategy
Mm-hmm.
is where I'm just like, McLaren, Lando, like, you guys need to figure out how to win.
Yeah.
Because for the 6 laps before this, Max Verstappen is pushing the inside lines. He's trying to late brake.
Yeah.
And what we saw going into that back straight into turn 12 is Lando Norris actually tries to force Max a little bit further inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's off the racing line too. He should be actually on the far outside going into that turn 12. That turn 12 apex is pretty tight, and you want to be kind of out, use the entire track, as they say. He's so far down the middle of the track that he's not even on the right line. What he misses is the idea that, like, Max is going to brake late into that turn. The problem is he is so impatient. He braked early like he should have, or he hit the brakes at the right time like he should have.
Mm-hmm.
But when Max let off the brakes, he let off the brakes.
Yeah.
And so that sent both of them wide.
Yeah.
Max, neither of them were going to make the apex at that point. They were both going off track.
Had he held onto the brakes longer,
let Max fucking fly by,
and it cut back,
and cut inside.
He would have been like, bye.
That's the Alonso move. That's the Hamilton move. Max Verstappen
come on,
move.
man.
Yeah,
come on, man. And what would have happened is that those few milliseconds, Max would have realized what was going on. He probably would have cooked the tires and probably locked up. Mm-hmm. And they would have made it even better. Because here's the crazy thing. All you needed to do was get by him. Because the second you got by him, you were down the road.
You're gone, yeah.
You were gone. So all you needed to do was get by him legally. He likes to brake late. It is he likes to brake late, and he likes to push to the outside.
He likes to play chicken. He's going to play chicken against you.
Use that to your advantage. Like, let him play chicken also. Mm-hmm. Oh, you think I'm breaking here? Oh, you think I'm letting off here? No. Bam. Cut to the inside, keep it moving, and get it done. But that's not what he did.
No, that's not what he did.
It was the impatience. It was the impatience, and it also was a little bit of a lack of will-to-will combat knowledge. It's
growing pains. This is a team that's still learning how to win after basically 15, 20 years in the doldrums. It's, you had 3 weeks between Singapore and Austin. You're fighting for a potential driver's championship. Lando Norris should have spent those 3 weeks, and this is me being a couch potato driver right now, an armchair quarterback, just visualizing success, just being like, all right, this is what Max is going to do. This is how I'm going to attack him. And when this situation happens, I'm going to go this way. I don't know if he did that. Maybe this is just McLaren figuring out how to win. But I think there were 2 strategic errors here, regardless of whether Lando should have given that place back or not. I honestly think Max was fine in what he did, and that the stewards made the right call by giving the 5-second penalty.
No, they definitely did.
The point is, like, leaving it up to the stewards rather than going for the win yourself. That's not
stupid.
That's not the way to do it.
Stupid. Like, dude, like, you know how like most athletes watch tape? This lets me know Lando does not watch tape.
Watch some tape, guys. I mean, you'd have to think they're looking at data all the time, but are you
watch some tape,
digesting it?
Yeah, watch some tape. He brakes late, pushes to the outside. What are we gonna do? We have the faster car.
Yeah.
Hold on to your brakes a little bit longer. Let him fly by. Do the cutback. Keep it moving.
Yeah.
Keep it moving. The worst thing that will happen is that he tries to crash into you. And then there's no question as to who's at fault or what's going on. That's the worst thing.
Yeah, the worst thing that happens is you give up that turn and you have 4 more laps to attack him.
Yeah.
And he was every lap he was getting closer and closer and closer. Max was holding that thing together by the seams, like he was literally keeping that car. It's like a spaceship going through the atmosphere. Like he was the only thing holding that thing in position in front of him, and he could only hold on for so much longer.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I love like the Lewis Max battle so much, because it was a battle of basic. It kind of showed you like how to approach Max. Like the way Lewis approached Max, especially towards the end of that season, in terms of like where to make the move, how to kind of get him tricked up to where he's just like it's clear that he's basically saying I'm gonna take us both out. Was because I always think back to that first turn. I think is it Monza that has that kind of where they crash into each other. That has that chicane.
Yeah,
Lewis made that move perfectly, and followed his line, and basically no one could say, "Oh, he pushed it." No, he followed his line. It was just like, Max at that point was already off and decided, "Oh no, I'm going to ride the top of your car," and that was it. Yep. But before that, Lewis made the move that he needed to get past it. I mean, whether Max doesn't want to give up afterwards, that's a whole other question. But you have to be intelligent in terms of how you approach Max. But you know how he drives.
And Max is going to kind of do whatever it takes. So let him do whatever he thinks it takes. And pull back a little.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I felt. And then the icing on the cake was them not switching back. So
it's points left on the table for McLaren, right? They gave up a point unnecessarily, but through impatience in the sprint. That was Lando again being a little bit nervous with someone on his backside. Gave up that point to Sainz, and then gave up more points during the actual race.
Yeah.
Here's the thing on the championship race. And I forgot to say this during Singapore when people were talking about the fastest lap that Danny Ricardo stole and how that could be the championship decider. Guys, that's not the championship decider.
Yeah.
What happened this race is not the championship decider. You were talking about the nail in the coffin. That nail is shut. And you know who hammered that nail into the coffin? McLaren. McLaren hammered that nail into the coffin when they let Oscar Piastri win Hungary. Yeah. That was it.
That's actually true.
It's done.
I by the end of the season, that might not even count if they keep on racing like this.
Yeah.
Like Max may win by like 60, 70 points. Then it doesn't matter who they let win in Hungary. Like their decision making is just poor. It's poor. And I was hoping like after a couple breaks they would have gotten better, but it's just poor. Like it's poor. It's at that point, like if there's even a minuscule chance that I think the stewards are gonna lean towards Verstappen's favor, I'm telling Lando immediately give it back. Give it back where you want to give it back, but give it back.
Give it back.
And then let's go at him again. And we just learned from that what he's doing even more. So we have more data to crunch to pull something even better, like on the next turn or the turn after that. But no, impatience, just impatience. But I mean, that was the race. I mean, you had Leclerc and Carlos 1-2, Verstappen 3, Lando after the 5 seconds it ends up behind Verstappen, and like it's I feel like, you know what, the nail. This is how much of the nail is sticking out right now. I think by the next race, all I'm gonna have to do is like tap it, and it's just gonna fall completely down. Like I've never seen one race just dramatically change my opinion on something, and this one race has. and it's crazy. It's like at this point in time, Max would have to DNF for there even to be a chance.
This is what we talked about. We have the receipts for this. It's
Yep.
Lando Norris won his first race this year.
Yep.
Max Verstappen knows how to win. McLaren needs to be perfect throughout the remainder of the season.
Yep.
We said this 3 races ago. He has not been perfect.
No.
And that's not a knock on Lando Norris or McLaren. It's just you guys have a very tough hill to climb.
Yeah.
And
you're not ready. You're not ready.
I think this is setting up an incredible next season. But
yeah, but you're not ready right now.
Who knows? I mean, now I'm hopeful for McLaren that they're going to make this close to finish out the season. I still think we have some fun left to be had, but I've kind of held the position that Red Bull's probably going to win out from the driver's standpoint. But it feels like that's going to happen, but it's going to be an exciting end of the season. We have Ferrari's back in the Constructors' Championship race, which is exciting to see. Yeah. Let's see what happens there. And we've got Mexico up next.
Yeah.
It's a fun track. I went to the Mexico Grand Prix last year. It was really cool. I was very happy to go to that.
Let's see how our friend Checo. Let's see how our friend Checo does.
Checo, talk about pressure. Last year, Checo on lap 1 took first place on I forgot what turn it was, and then immediately spun out. So he was done on lap 1.
Yeah.
So
okay, folks.
Let's see Mexico.
Let's see what Mexico gives us. Interesting track, as you said. I love the little amphitheater section.
That's where I sat. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's like a continuous driver parade, every single lap. So I like that. It's a cool vibe. But you know what race I'm rooting for? Brazil.
Oh, that's all. Interlagos. That track is
Interlagos. That's all I want.
Beautiful.
That those long turning curves back up to the start finish line.
Mm-hmm. Talk about a hill. Yes. There's a hill there too.
Oh yeah. But should be interesting. But yeah, nail coffin almost done. Almost done. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you want to follow myself, send me a question. I'm on Instagram as Ready Set Watch. Amavir is Meta World Cooled. And as you can tell, I am losing my voice because I've been talking a lot this past weekend. So I'm gonna let the last few lines go to Amavir. Go ahead.
Ricardo barely made it through this, so very happy to have him survive, and he needs to get some rest. But thank you for joining us. Yeah, hit us up either on Instagram, Ready Set Watch or Meta World Cool, or on the Worn and Wound page as well. And we will look forward to talking to you all after Mexico. Thanks, everyone.